Hello wonderful people, it's Wild here. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to build this charming fantasy Mossy Manor house. This whimsical build would be perfect alongside other fairy style builds and would make a fantastic survival base. Design elements like the curved windows give this build an almost Hobbiton-like vibe. And with features like a swooping mossy roof, it has an organic feel that looks right at home in a forest. Don't forget that if you want a world download for this build, to check out the description. The materials you'll need for this build are on your screen now. Keep in mind that if you can't get hold of anything, you can leave a comment and I'll be happy to offer some substitutions. Here is the outline for our build. You can see that the base main structure is a 9 by 23 rectangle. We've then got some different pieces coming off, including the entryway there at the front, and then in the darker grey concrete we've got some places for some post decorations and our chimney. You can place in an outline like this one to help you build. I recommend starting in one corner and then following along the lengths listed in that outline. I've used concrete as it has a high contrast, but you can use any block here. We're going to begin our build by placing in some posts around this outline, using some oak logs. I'm going to start building up 5 high in one corner like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'll go ahead and do this in the rest of the corners. You can see that I've also done it around the corners of this smaller square that sticks out for the entryway. Now for some more posts, I'm going to be placing in one here, so there should be a 5 gap between these two and these two, like that. I'm going to come to either end of this build and add in a post in the center, so there'll be a 3 block gap and a 3 block gap. And then let's come to the back of the build. We're going to add in a few posts along here. Starting on this side, I'm going to count across 5 and add a post in, and that should line up with the one on the front. Then another 5, lining up with those posts with the square. Then I'll count 3, 1, 2, 3, and add in one more. And this should leave you with a 5 block gap on this side, and all the posts should line up with the posts on the other side of the build. I can then go ahead and connect all of these up with some more oak logs. Now you can see that we've got an outline for this build, so we're going to go in with some cobblestone, mossy cobblestone and mossy stone bricks now to create a foundation. And I'm just placing these in between each of the posts around the outline. You can see I'm just placing these in randomly to go for a textured look. And the amount of moss you add depends on how aged you want the build to appear. The more moss you add, the older the build will look. If you'd like to access a world download for this build, check out the link in the description below. Over on Patreon, you can gain access to all of my build tutorials as schematics or world downloads, and you can also access a multi-world server where you can build alongside me and some other great Minecrafters. Almost there with this texturizing. You can see I'm making each one just a bit different. This really helps with the natural look. And there we go, we're all the way around. Now we're going to start placing in some windows. I'm going with some green stained glass as this works with the mossy vibe I'm going with. But if you're going to use a variation, you can switch out the glass color. So I'm placing on these 5 by 3 panels a 2 by 3 window like this. So let's go ahead and add one to each of these panels. So we've got 2 on the front, we've got these 3 along the back, and we've got one more on this side of the front. Like that. Then on the 2 ends of the build, we have a 2 high window centered in the panel. And that is all of our windows marked in. I'm going to grab some more of these mossy and regular cobblestone as well as the stone brick, and I'm going to fill in an extra 2 high on this wall and the wall opposite. Like this, and again over here. And when you're texturizing, don't be afraid to take a step back and make some changes. I think I'm pretty happy with that. Then I'm going to come around to this front wall where we have our doorway, and making sure I leave this too high gap, I'm going to build up to the same height. Just like this. I'm also going to come to the back of the build now, where we have this 3 wide section, and build up an extra 2 high. There we are. The rest of the walls are going to be filled in with a mixture of sandstone and smooth sandstone. I'm just using a little bit of sandstone here and there for a bit more texture, and this is going to work well with the texturized base we've already created. Again, you can see each panel is just a little bit different. You'll also see that I'm filling in these little gaps above the stone. If you're having trouble coming up with textures for each of these panels, you might find it easier to go in with all of one block like this, and then step back and add in the texture once you've got it filled in. There we go. Last 2 panels. And now I'm going to switch to some more of my oak logs, and I'm having these come out of each of the joins in the posts and beams around the outside. We're really starting to get a good base for this building. Shifting gears a bit, we're going to come inside the build and work on the floor. I'm going to start by removing the floor in this entryway section, including the bit under the door. I'm going to run my stripped dark oak logs this way here. Then, when I dig out this section, we're going to be running the floorboards in the opposite direction. One thing you'll notice is that in front of this little wall where we have this stone brick coming up higher, is that I'm going to bring some of this cobble out 2 blocks, mixing in some of our texture like we had from before. There we are. Then I can go ahead and remove the rest of this grass block and fill it in with my flooring. I get a lot of questions wondering if you can create a larger build like this one or a build with more complicated blocks in survival, and my answer is absolutely. One of the great things about survival Minecraft is the adventure of gathering supplies, so stick it out and you're going to end up with an awesome base. So there we go, I filled in all of my flooring, and you can see I've got the floorboards running in the 2 different directions to provide a bit of visual separation. Now for some physical separation, I'm going to add in a wall. Now the rest of the walls I'll be adding into this build when I decorate, but I need to add in this wall because it's going to go with our staircases. So you can see that I'm going to line up a post in the center here. So it's got a 3 block gap on this side and a 3 block gap on this side, and it's lined up with this post. That means that it's 5 blocks away from this side wall. I'm going to take my mossy stone brick, my mossy cobblestone, and my cobblestone and create a wall going along here like this. Then I'm going to take my sandstone and my smooth sandstone and fill in the rest of this wall, and I'm leaving a doorway on this wall. There we are. Now for our staircase, I'm going to start by placing in a spruce stair here in line with this post, and then let's have our staircase come right up this wall, and it should end lined up with this post. I'll place some more stairs underneath to give it a cleaner look, like this. And then I'm going to grab some more of these oak logs, just placing 2 in here. Let's grab some spruce trapdoors. I'm going to place 4 coming down here for some railing. There we go. And now we can switch back to our oak logs. I'm going to create some beams that are going to go this way along the build, and then I'll connect them up with some beams in between. And I need to add one going across this way as well. Then I'm going to add in one here, and this is what it should look like from above. Next, we're going to come inside here and make sure we light up the build before the next step. We don't want to have mobs spawning in creative or in survival. Next, I'm turning back around to face where we're having this fireplace. I'm going to place a chiseled stone brick on either side like this, with a campfire in the center, and by using a campfire, I'm making sure I don't accidentally burn down my house. I'm going to place in some stairs next, upside down, with the slab above here. Then I'll place a stone brick stair above that, followed by a stone brick wall, and finishing off with another stair upside down. So here's our fireplace in place, and then I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of the ceiling of this level and the floor for the next with some of these spruce slabs. You'll notice that I'm going to leave out these 3 spaces here, so that way we can walk up and down our staircase still, but the rest I'm going to go ahead and fill in. You'll notice that there'll be 1 stone brick there, but we're going to cover that up with the fireplace up in this attic space. Now we're ready to start adding in our walls and gables for this next attic story. Let's start on the large gables which are going on either end of the build. I'll begin by placing an oak log at the center and then off to either side. And I'll use my smooth sandstone and regular sandstone to fill in these gaps. Then I've got some more of my green stained glass and I'm creating a 2x3 window centered like this. Above that, I'm going to build up 5 high, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with some oak logs, and we're going to build our triangle point around this. So we're going to add 1 more block on top of this side and this side. There we are. Then we're going to build up 2 high, and come in like that. And then to finish off the point, we're going to add 2 more on top of each side. So let's have 1, 2, and 1, 2. So there's our first shape. We're going to do the exact same thing over on this side, following the same process. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now to add in the rest of the gable point. There we are. Next, I'm going to come to the back of the build. We've got these 2 sections that are 5 wide, and then we've got a 3 and another 5. What I'm going to do is place in a post on either side of this 3 wide section and leave this gap free. Then I'm going to build all the way across, filling in these gaps with my sandstone and smooth sandstone mixture. There we are. Fill in this next gap. And the last one over here. There we go. We're going to be adding a gable next on top of here. So I'm going to find the center and build there and build 2 to either side. Like this. So we've got a 5 wide section and there should be a 3 wide gap between that and the next post along. I'm going to place a window in here and then build up 2 to either side. And then of course go over the top. Then we need to finish off with 2 more blocks on top. We're going to come to the front of the build next, and I'm going to place in a post over on this side as well as here, and then I'm going to come forward with 2 posts as well. And let's go all the way around this outline using our blocks. Once again, I haven't placed a post in here, so I'm just going to go straight across. And I'm making sure that I'm not creating a perfect mirror image of what we have on the other side for that more natural appearance. Now that we've got that base wall in, let's create this same gable. So 1 and then 2 to either side. Next we'll place in our window and build up. And finishing off the top. There we are. Finally, to finish off these walls, I'm just going to build 3 across here. And then 2 in the center, creating a very small gable above our doorway. It's now time to add in our grand mossy roof. Before we do that, I'm going to place in a few torches so I don't have mobs spawning. And this is quite a complicated roof as we've got our 5 gables joining onto each other in a swooping shape. But we're going to break it down into sections to make it easy to build. We're going to start with some moss blocks. And I'm just coming to this corner here where we have a 3 wide window joining onto our doorway. I'll start by placing a row of blocks coming along this edge. And we're going to roughly follow the shape created by these gables. You'll also see that I'm finishing in line with the gable walls themselves. Coming up to our next layer, I'm going to build 2 high, 4 blocks across, like this. Then I'm going to wrap around the corner 1 block high, and build 2 blocks high when I get to this end point. We're going to add another block on top of here, coming over and then back down. I'll build across 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'll build up in a little L shape. Like that. Switching back over to this larger section of roof, we're going to build up 2 high again. This time I'm going to build over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's extending 1 over the end. I'll fill in this gap and build over another 2. 1, 2, and then we're going to add in 2 blocks to create a join. So it'll look like this. Onto the next layer, I'm going to build up 2 high for 3 blocks. 1, 2, 3, like this. Then I'm going to add in an additional 2 blocks coming this way. I'm going to build down and come across 2, and then we need to fill in this gap by building down 3. 1, 2, 3. You might need to find yourself jumping between an exterior view of the build and coming across to the side, so lots of scaffolding is useful in survival. Now on to the last layer for this section. We're going to build up 2 high, just coming 2 blocks across. I'll add in an extra block here. Then we're going to come down and build up 2 high for 3, so 1, 2, 3. And we'll add in 2 more blocks. 1, 2. Finally, to bring us up so we've filled in this section of the join, I'm going to be placing in 1 block here and 2 blocks coming down. Let's take a step back. Here's how this section of the roof should look. Let's work on the next section, this join in here. I'm going to fill in this gap first, building a little L shape. Then we're going to build up 2 high and then come back and start wrapping back around, and I'm just going to finish here. We're going to have another layer connecting up like this, just 1 high, and then I'm going to build 2 high along this section. Just like that. So you can see I'm stopping before we get to this next gable. To finish off this section, we're just going to come across with another layer of 2. Next, we're going to fill in this join here between this gable and our large gable. I'm going to start by building up 2 high here, and I'm going to bring this along to join up and fill in this gap. Just like that. This next layer is also 2 high, so I'm going to bring that around, and it'll join up to the section we've got here. There we go. We've got a layer of 1 on the top, and I'm going to bring that back 3 blocks like this. I'm going to place another block here and connect it up so it sits kind of on top of the layer we just built. And then to finish up this section, I'm going to add in 2 blocks and build across. There we go. For this last corner of the front of the build, we're going to be swooping up like we have on the other end, and you can see that by breaking the build down into sections like this, a complicated shape is made much easier. Here I'm just following the outline created by the gables, so we've got a layer of 1, then a layer of 2, next we've got another layer of 2 coming around, and after here is where we start having our swoop. So I'll build up 2 high for 3, then I'm going to connect this up with a layer of 1 high blocks, and then to create the swoop we're going to build up 2 high for these 3 blocks, an extra block here, and then 2 high to finish off at the end. So here is how the front of the build should be looking. Now remember, if your roof isn't exactly the same as mine, that's totally okay. Just make sure you don't have any gaps in between the joins and your gables, and that you have a nice swooping shape that you're happy with. Let's move on to the back of the roof. We're following along the same shape, but we have less gables to work with here, so it's a bit simpler. Let's start by building 4 across here, and then working on this corner join. Another layer of 2 coming up. Like that. Now I need to create the join between the tops of the roofs where we have the swoop. So we're coming along at 2 blocks high like this. Then we have a layer of just 1 block high, and this is going to curve around and connect up to the top of this roof, and 1 more block in here. For the rest of this roof, let's swap over and start on this side, just with a layer of 1 to begin with. Then we've got a layer of 2, and that's coming just 4 blocks across. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to build 1 block high along the rest of this section until I reach the join in the gable. We're going to need to be 2 up here, so I'm going to add that in, and I'm coming back to that 3rd block. Coming over to this side again, I'm starting building up 2 high for 5 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'll come back down, whoops, to fill in that join. There we go. I'll add in another 2 blocks, 1, 2, and then I'm going to connect it up to this other side. There we are. Onto the next layer, I'm going to build up 2 high for 3 blocks, 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to come across 2. We're going to have another layer of some 2 blocks, 1 and 2. And I'm going to build down to fill in this gap and connect everything up. So we've got 3 coming down here. Then we need to build across 2 just to fill in this gap for the rest of the roof. You'll also see that I've come to the join in the roof where we're building up 2 high and wrapping around the corner, making sure that I fill in this gap. If we take a step back, here's how the roof looks at the back. I've just come inside the build now, and we're going to make some fine adjustments to the roof. This is just for the look of the interior. So I've come to the longer end of this section of the build where we have these 2 gables, and I'm going to remove 2 blocks from either side. I think this just gives it a cleaner roof line, as you can see the shape of the gables better. I'm also going to come to these blocks above our stairway and add in an extra moss block here, again just to smooth out the look. While I'm up here, let's add in our fireplace. We're using a campfire, then we've got chiseled stone bricks on either side. I'm going to place in some right way up stone brick stairs and an upside down one, and then 1 more stone brick stair above that. Now that that's all in order, let's head back down the stairs and work on the roof again. We're going to be using some dark oak to create some edging around all of the roof lines. Let's start with some dark oak stairs, and I'm just going to place these around the visible sections of wall sticking out here. I'm also extending 1 block out. Let's go around the front and the back, and then we're going to work on the decoration around each gable. You can see that for these gables, the larger ones with the small window, we're going to go straight in front. There we are. Let's come back around to the front, and we're going to work on this small gable first. I'm going to build out 2 blocks with my oak logs. Then we need to work up with some stairs. So I'm placing in some upside down stairs and some right way up stairs like this. And we've got blocks where we have our 2 high sections. So upside down, right way up, upside down, block, stair, and that should complete the shape. On top of here, we're going to add a little spiral. So I'm placing in a block, then a stair facing outwards, a stair facing this way, and a right way up stair. Then to finish the spiral, I'm placing a stair pointing downwards and a slab on top. So it'll look like this, and from the front, like this. We're going to do basically the same outline on this gable here at the front and this gable at the back. Of course, following along the shape created. So we're going to add in our stairs first, as well as some blocks, reaching up towards the top. And don't forget that we have 2 oak logs coming out in the very point. Almost at the top. There we go, like this. And then we're going to create a spiral on top. So we've got our block, some stairs, a stair pointing downwards, and finally a trapdoor. And there's that gable done. Let's go ahead and do the same thing on the back. So you can see I'm placing in this first stair where we have our first mossy block and making my way up from there. Now that we've got these smaller gables done, we need to work on our large gable, and this is going to follow the same shape, but we're going to have a larger spiral at the top. We're going to start off much the same way, building out 2 blocks with our oak logs, and then following up the shape of the gable. So there's one side, and now up the other side. So it's looking like this. And then for the spiral, we're going to start building up 2 blocks with our dark oak planks. Then we have a stair going on top, a stair coming this way, and I'm placing 2 dark oak slabs on top of that. Now to curve back down, we're placing in a stair here, upside down, then a right way up stair coming off of that, another upside down stair, and then I'm placing in one more upside down stair, this time so it curves back in the other way. So it'll look like this from the side, and this from the front. The final thing we need to add is a dark oak trapdoor onto the back of this stair, and this just helps to make it look a little bit more circular. We're going to create this same gable design over on the other side. If you're enjoying today's video and would like to access additional benefits like world downloads for this and all my other builds, as well as access to a multi-world server, check out my Patreon. I'd love to have your support and have you join my community. Let's take a step back and check out our roof. It's looking so whimsical. The next detail we're adding onto this roof is some dark oak fences. I'm just having these coming along the ridges of each of the gables. Over to this one, this is just going straight across, and the same on this side. Now we need to add in some chimneys, so for this we'll be using a mixture of chiseled stone bricks and then some mossy stone brick items, as well as campfires and spruce trapdoors. I'm going to add one in here first. I'm coming to this first layer of 2 and counting in 2 blocks. Then I'm going to place in a mossy stone brick stair upside down and another one here. Then I'm going to add in a block and we'll place in some more stairs. One this way and then one coming out from here. I'm going to add on 2 more mossy stone bricks on top, and then we can finish off this chimney with a campfire and some spruce trapdoors. It almost looks a bit like a music note, and you can see it coming out towards the front there. We're going to create the same shape for another chimney around on this small gable. So I'm going to come to this layer, I'll count 2 blocks in, add in my first stair, and then go forward from there. So there's our 2 first chimneys, and these are a simpler design. Let's come back around to the back of this build to add in a more complicated one here. We're going to start on the bit that sits above this section of the wall. So I'm finding the center of this 3 wide wall. I'm going to come up to the mossy block and place a stair in. Then I'm going to place in 2 mossy stone bricks, build up an extra 3 high on this one in front of the stair, and then come over to the side. I'll fill in this gap with a couple of walls. So it'll look like this. Coming over to this side, we're going to add in an extra mossy stone brick stair and a gap with one above, and we'll place a wall in there as well. Then we're going to add 3 walls in front. This is going to be the location of our first campfire, so I'm going to place this in, and I'm going to place spruce trapdoors on this front side and this side as well. I'm also going to be able to place in a stair now. I want this to be upside down like this, and I'll place a right way up stair on top of there. I can also go ahead and add in a mossy stone brick on top of that, and this is where I'm adding in my second campfire. Let's surround this on these 3 sides, leaving the back side free. We're going to be adding another layer to this chimney, so I'm going to come to this side. I'm going to come back and place in 2 stairs, an upside down one followed by a right way up one, and then I'm going to add in a few walls. We're going to build up 4 high, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm now around on the other side of our chimney here, and I'm going to start by placing in 2 mossy stone bricks. This will come up to the height of these 2 walls we added in at the beginning. We're going to go in with some stairs now, an upside down one and a right way up one, and this right way up one should be beside an upside down stair. Above this, we're going to go in with 2 more mossy stone brick, and then I'm going to be placing in a mossy stone brick stair upside down so it's facing towards the front of the build. We've got 1 more stair on top and then 2 more mossy stone bricks. And let's add our campfire on top of here and surround with some trapdoors. And if we take a step back, here is how our chimney should look. Let's move down now and add in this section of the chimney. I'm going to start by building up 3 high in the center of this wall with my blocks. Then I'm going to place a block to this side with an upside down stair on top. I've got a chiseled stone brick in front of here as well as one above that. Then I've got a couple more stairs, 2 coming to the side in a curved shape like this, 2 coming forward in the same curved shape, and then 1 more upside down here. I'm also going to place in 2 walls coming up this side. It'll look like this, and you can see that it'll connect up through the roof up to our chimney. We're up to adding in some more details now. I'm going to start by taking some cobblestone, mossy cobblestone, and mossy stone brick slabs, and I'm just going to place these going around underneath the roof. We're going for that same texturized look that we have for the rest of this build at the foundation. So as I come to the end here, I'm going to skip out in this corner and come around and do it between these logs. Skip the corner, come back around and continue on with this building technique. When we get to the corner here, I'm going to just continue building in a L shape like this to fill it in. I'm going to skip this corner and fill in these 3. And so forth until we're all the way around the build. Now that these are in, we're going to work on some decorations on these posts. What I'm going to start with is by placing a smoker so that this face here faces in towards the post. Then we'll place a mossy stone brick wall on top, followed by a dark oak fence, and then a grindstone facing so that when you look towards the post, you see this side. So then when I rotate around to the corner, I'm going to start off the same way. And then I'll make sure I have my grindstone facing this way. So I'll always be sitting beside the wall that I'm placing the grindstone onto. I'm just adding in the last few grindstones now, and then you can see that I've done this same decoration all the way around the build. Last couple, there and there. And they're all in. Now we need to move on to decorating these windows. We're going to start by working on these 2x3 windows here. Now I'm going to be using note blocks, but if you don't have access to these, you could switch them out for spruce logs. I'm placing one above and below, and then I'm placing some stairs on either side to create a sort of circular shape. So it will look like this. We've got an upside down stair on either side and right way up ones. We've got right way up ones down here and upside down ones up below that. Let's place an oak trapdoor in front of each of these note blocks, and then we've got a couple of oak fences. Finally, to finish the shape to make it look a little bit more round, I'm adding in a couple more dark oak trapdoors. So now that I've got this design, I'm going to replicate this on all of the same sized windows. I'm just adding the decoration to this last window here, and you can see that I'm using this same design across all of the large windows, including the large windows in the top 2 gables. Next we've got to add in our fences, and let's finish off with a few trapdoors. Looking through the window, you can see I've already done the decoration on the other side. Now that we've got this done, let's move back down and decorate these 1 wide windows. We're going to start with a note block, then 2 oak fences, and I'll add a dark oak stair on top so that it's facing outwards. I'll place some dark oak trapdoors on either side, and then I'm going to use some oak signs and place 3 around the base of these here note blocks. So I'm going to go ahead and replicate this design now. If you're building in creative and want to speed up this process, you can look at the sign, hold down Control, and then click on your middle mouse button, and that's your scroll wheel, and that'll copy the sign with no text, just saving you a little bit of time. Alright, let's keep decorating. Next, let's decorate the 2 small windows in these little gables. So I'm going to start with a note block again, then we'll have an oak fence, and then our 3 signs like we did before. But for this small window, I'm just going to surround all 3 sides with some dark oak trapdoors. So it'll look like this. And don't forget we've got the one on the back as well. We're going to be using all of these same supplies to decorate our doors, so back around at the front, let's add those in. I'm going to start by placing a note block, one block above the door like this. I'm going to have some dark oak stairs on either side and we'll create an archway like before. There we go. And I'm going to place some stairs down on the base as well. Let's add in a couple of trapdoors here and here, creating a circle shape. And I'm going to add an oak trapdoor in front of here. I'm going to be using a spruce door for this build and I'll add that in now. Next, let's add in some lanterns. On each of these posts sticking out from the gables, I'm going to have a lantern hanging one chain length down. 2 more to go, one here and one around here. Then on the lower section of this build, I'm going to start in one corner, hanging my lantern down 2 chain lengths. Then I'll move to the next corner and hang it down 1 chain length. I'm also going to add a lantern underneath the door here. The next lantern, I'll go back to 2 lengths, coming round to this corner at 1 length, and I'll continue this pattern. So next we've got 2 here. And we should finish with 1 chain length round on this side. And you can see that then the next one along is 2 chain lengths down. Alrighty, I've added in all of the finishing details and it really looks fantastic now. The most obvious thing you can see that I've added is all this greenery on the roof. So we've got some different heights of grass here, as well as some ferns, big and small, and I've placed in some of these small drip leaves. This has such a lush look, and I've gone with an all green colour palette, but you absolutely could incorporate some colour with some flowers. You can also see that I've draped some leaves over the gables of the roof around these chimneys, and you can see at the back I've done the same thing. There we go. And you can see that I also have them coming out between some of the joins in the roof as well. Now I've brought some colour into this build in my garden, so if we take a step back, let's have a look at the landscaping I've done. Since this has a natural whimsical vibe, I've gone with a big swooping curving pathway with a mixture of gravel that kind of breaks off into the forest. I've placed these natural looking planting spaces along the pathway using some of the coarse dirt, and this is where I've incorporated some colour. I've chosen red for my accent colour. So we've got a couple of these around here. You can also see I've made a statement fountain. I've set this further enough away from the build so that when you're walking up you still get a great view of the architecture, but I've gone with items that are still found in the build, that way it ties it all together. And that's true for all of my decorations. You can see that I've got dark oak and spruce, which are materials that you can find in the build. You can also see that I've used spruce leaves like I have from the main part of the build to create some bushes, and this helps to frame our structure. If we come further around the back, let's check out some other decorations I've added. I've added in a small seating area here with a swinging bench, and I've placed some hanging pots over here. We've got a little campfire and a custom table and chairs. If we head further around the back, I've got some garden spaces. So we've got a little wheat field and some carrots growing. I've got this section set up with some flowers and pots that I'm potting up. Now that I've made it daytime, I'm going to add in a few extra lanterns here as well as some decorations to really bring it to life. I've got some item frames and I'm going to place these down with some garden tools. Here we've got some shears or some secateurs, perhaps for pruning these flowers, and of course a shovel. Now if we come over this way, you can see I've set up a composter. Of course I have the actual composters themselves, but I've made it a bit more purposeful with this frame and some podzol. If I take a step back, you can notice one other thing about my planting around this build. I've got the forest densely planted around here, around the sides and the back, and that helps to provide a backdrop for the build. You can also see that there is a lot more grass in and among these trees. Then as you get towards the build, there's still a little bit of grass for that lush feel, but it's less so it feels a little bit more planned. So now you have a beautiful Mossy Manor house fit for your fantasy or nature-inspired world. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd really appreciate it if you consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in another video.